I have this glass dish here, and what you're going to need to do first is we're going to put some flour in this dish. And by the way, guys, there's a particular kind of steak you're going to need to make this. You're going to need cubed beef steak. Cubed steak. Put a little bit of flour in there. Start around like that. And we're going to season this flour. But let me show you how cubed steak look, just in case you don't know how it looks. This is cubed steak. It's a really thin and flat type of steak. It's perfect steak for frying. If you use a really big chunk or piece of steak, it's going to take a really long time to fry. So we're going to season the flour. You don't want to over season this. So we're only going to use about, let's say, a teaspoon of salt. About that much there. See that? I'd rather under season my food than over season it. Going to use a little bit of black pepper. Don't want to season this too much, guys, because we're going to be seasoning the steak as well. But just to make sure that the steak is well seasoned, you want to season both the steak and the flour. Going to use a little bit of garlic powder, just a little bit. And just a little bit of cayenne pepper. You definitely want to make sure that you don't overuse this. This is really hot. Then you're going to stir this in. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to season our cube steak. I'm going to use a little bit of salt. Use a little bit of garlic powder. We're going to make sure we massage that onto both sides of the steak. Some pepper. And a little bit of cayenne. Just a little bit. Just like that. Okay. I'm going to rub this into both sides of the steak. Okay, so both sides of the steak are well seasoned now. Okay, so listen, guys, we're going to be double dipping this steak. Okay? And double dip is when you take a piece of meat and you dip it into dry flour or cornmeal or something that's dry, breadcrumbs or whatnot, and then you dip it into something wet and then you dip it back into something dry. Okay, so we're going to get a bowl here and we're going to crack our 2 eggs. We're going to beat these eggs up with an egg beater. Make sure they're well blended. You might want to sit here and just beat these up for about 1 full minute, maybe 2. And what you're going to do now is you're going to pour some of that buttermilk into this. Okay? And then you're going to beat it up again. You're going to get your seasoned flour. that we seasoned earlier. And what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that your steak is coated really well. Make sure you press this down into the flour, guys, like that. The way the cube beef steak is, it has like holes in it, so it makes it easy for the flour to get into the steak. See how that look? You want it to look like that. So what you're going to do now is you're going to dip that into your egg buttermilk mix. Make sure it's fully covered in this. And you want to let that excess egg come off. And then you're going to take it and cover it again in more flour. Cover in more flour like this. Your hands get kind of messy. Make sure it's fully covered, guys, well coated. Okay, and then after you do that, you're going to take it out and set it aside. Like that. Okay, now let's do another one. Let me show y'all one more time how to do it. You're going to coat your steak with flour. Make sure you press that flour in really well. And what you're going to do is you're going to let your steak sit for 20 minutes after you get done. Turn on to the other side, get the other side. Make sure the other side's coated really well. Okay. Then you're going to dip it into this buttermilk egg mix. Like that. And then back into the flour. Okay, so you're gonna let them sit like that. All right. Gonna let them sit for 20 minutes and allow that flour to sink into the meat. The reason that you dip this into the flour and then into the egg mix and then back into the flour is to make sure that it fries correctly, and to make sure that when you fry it, the flour don't just come off. If you don't do this, there's a great chance that the flour will just fall off once you put it into the frying pan. So that's the purpose of doing that. Just to let you guys know. So you're gonna let this sit for 20 minutes. Okay, so we're gonna add our oil to the frying pan. Hey guys, so this is our steak here. It's been sitting for about 20 minutes, and as you can see, the flour is kind of wet. See how the flour look? It almost looks like clay dough, and it's no longer really white. But this is all the flour that's kind of sunk into the steak. That's the way you want it to look, okay? And also here we have just some paper towels. We're gonna sit the chicken fried steak into this pan when it's done. Okay, so let's get ready to add these steak pieces to the frying pan. So we're gonna add the chicken fried steak, and you're gonna let it fry on each side for about 3 to 4 minutes. Total cooking time should be about 7 to 8 minutes. And we're going to fry these on low heat. Or low medium. Low medium should be good. So it appears to be brown on the sides. That's how you know it's brown on the other side. So we're going to flip this over now. Might need to get a fork to help you flip it over. Like that. And we're going to let it fry on this side for about 3 minutes as well. Nice and golden brown, looks good. 3 minutes per side, folks. Sometimes you might need to flip it back over again to get back on the other side. Sometimes when you fry it on the other side, once you turn it over, juice kind of rises to the top of the other side, so you might need to flip it over one more time. So we're going to take this out now. It's all done. And we're going to place it onto our other piece of steak. So those are our 2 pieces of chicken fried steak there. Looks good. Chicken fried steak. Look at that. Looks really good and delicious. So we're going to let the grease drain off of these steak pieces. That's why I put the paper towel in there. Okay, so that's the way they look. Just wanted to show you guys that. Okay guys, so now it's time to make the white gravy for our chicken fried steak. So what you're going to do is you're going to place the frying pan back over low heat, and this is a little bit of the oil that was left over from the steak that we just fried. What you're going to do first is you're going to get about, I'll say starting with about a tablespoon of flour. I'm going to show you how that looks. Use about a tablespoon of flour. that. And you're going to basically stir this in, stir it in really well, and you're going to stir it in until you don't see any more lumps. Stir, 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 so you don't see any more lumps. Make sure your fire is on low heat. Okay. So it's smooth like that. And I want to add just a little more flour. Sometimes you may need a little more than expected. So a little more. About that much. Okay. Then what you're going to do is you're going to add your milk. Make sure you add a nice amount of milk. Nice amount. Okay. Then you're going to stir this really lightly until it's nice and smooth. And you're going to add a little bit of this broth. Okay, and this broth is going to give it more flavor. This broth gives it a lot of flavor. Stir it until you don't see any more lumps. You want it to be nice and smooth like that. I've actually cut my fire off now. So that beef stock is going to give this a little more flavor, guys. And that's the way that you make white gravy, folks. Look at that. That beef stock, I knew it gave it a lot of flavor. So what you're going to do is you're going to season this. And you can season it with whatever you want to season it with. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper. I like to add onion powder to mine. So I'm going to put a little bit of onion powder in here. I like pepper, onion powder. Just about a half a teaspoon of onion powder. I like salt. I'm going to use about a half a teaspoon of salt. Don't want it to be too salty now. About a half a teaspoon. Maybe even 1/4. Like that. That much. Let me taste it. I like the way it tastes. So let's plate this now. Okay guys, so that is how you make chicken fried steak. Or as some people like to call it, country fried steak. Look at that. Looks delicious, doesn't it? Nice and crispy. Look at that. Country fried steak. Peace.